is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Hello and welcome into another edition of 3Ma. I am John Kurtz, joined by Derek Young and Cole Manbeck. Derek Young, of course, K-State Online fame. Cole Manbeck, former beat writer for the Manhattan Mercury. Today, talking a little Big 12 football, giving our Big 12 ballots. We disagreed about this. Those of you who are members of our Patreon page and are on the Discord, you got a little look inside how we disagree already. So there's a nice little plug there. If you want more content and content early, go to patreon.com/3ma. But the other thing we ask you to do is support those who support us here on the show, like our friends at Holiday Distillery. Make sure that you get your Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon or your 360 vodka. Either way, whatever your poison of choice, they've got you covered. But bourbon lovers really love the Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. We finally got the invite out to Quilter's Paradise to hang out at Cole's Lake House and I saw a couple of empty bottles of Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon out there. So it is being consumed by those who enjoy this show. Again, thank you to our friends at Holiday Distillery. They are great K-State folks who support us here. So, yes, we are back from the lake weekend. We all survived. We all finally made it there after 2 years. Cole got us there on the coldest day of the summer, where it was windy and like 65 degrees and freezing. So, thank you, Cole, for reserving prime real estate for us to head out to your lake house this weekend.
Yeah, 65 degrees, 70 degrees isn't freezing, John. It's beautiful weather, and it's the weather that we love in the fall. But yes, John Kurtz wanted like a blanket during 70-degree weather. So, yeah.
Well, that was after I had been in the water, and then you get out and it's really cold, and then you're driving the boat back, and the wind is just crushing you. It was very cold. It was very cold, people. All I wanted was some sun. We got no sun.
I'm sorry I could not push the clouds out for you, but John got lots of playing in on the DY's PlayStation 5 in college football.
We did. I mean, honestly, we should be talking about that more because that's what's driving all the engagement right now for any of the college football shows that are out there. It's people talking about the video game. Yeah, we had some fun with that. I also shout out to Tate, who listens to our podcast, who sold me his Xbox so that I can now play it now that I am back home. But yeah, we got a lot of games in on the sticks. Pretty evenly matched games, I would say, for the most part across the board. So yeah. Also, it was weird. At one point when you guys were still out there, I feel like I did some update or like, I don't know, the roster changed a little bit and Avery seemed like he was a little bit better the second time I played with him. I had more fun with K-State the second time that I was playing with them. But yeah, shocker, Avery and DJ Giddens are pretty good, pretty fun to play with in the game. Any other observations about the game? This is what the engagement, this is what we need. Any other observations about the game?
Let me give you an observation, DY. You jump in too. John Kurtz folks played with Kansas almost the whole weekend and said that they're so fun. He loved playing with them, and he was talking to his players like he was best friends with them. He's like, "Come on, Devin. Come on, Jalen." I mean, I don't know. Like John seemed like a resident KU fan playing the game.
Okay, well, I played 7 games against you guys. I used them twice. I returned to them at the end when I felt like I really needed a win after I had lost a couple because, frankly, that offense is good, man. That offense is good. They're built for a video game. Look, we know this going into the season. Avery Johnson is going to be a superstar, but he's got to go prove it. So that roster update, I think, will make him even better. But really, it was like, I mean, Devin Neal is just like a cheat code in that game, man. He was good. Cole also was Mizzou. I'm not going to let this totally slide. Cole was Mizzou, and Luther Burden might be the best freaking player in the game because Luther Burden had like 400 yards receiving on DY, but DY won that game while playing with Kansas, I might add, so I was not the first to play with Kansas. But that game was won because Cole got a little bit cocky at the end. I'm trying to remember what happened there. Was it he was up by 1 score and threw a pick six? What happened?
Forget what the actual score was at the time, but basically the last play of the game was a 100-yard pick six by me to win.
Yeah, I mean, I was up 42-40, and DY was heckling me for running clock, and there was 20 seconds left, and I could have just ran out the clock, but I was like, fine, I won't be the boring, like, real-life person here. It's a video game, so I'll just heave one up, and I threw a pick six that was returned 100 yards to lose the game. And I chose Missouri, folks, because DY had already selected Kansas, and for the sake of the rivalry matchup, I chose Missouri. Otherwise, I wouldn't So that was just me being a team player. Felt like you chose KU more than twice, John, but I guess I'd have to go back through the game.
It was twice. I played with them once because I saw DY playing with him and beat you, and I was like, all right, well, guess I'll have to give that one a shot. And then when I really needed somebody, because you guys have beaten me twice in a row, and I was like, all right, I got the team that I played best with, I felt like, was Kansas, so I got to go get them again. Yeah, that's how the weekend of playing NCAA went. Honestly, much needed. I will say that. Like after 11 years, 10 years, 11 years, whatever, without it, 11 years. Right back into it, man. Felt like old times. So that was good. All right, we want to do our Big 12 ballots here today. We have some disagreement at the top, and Cole, who's already staked his position as the biggest K-State homer of all three of us, we'll get to slam that one down, because DY and I do not have K-State at the top, but Cole does, and that becomes our top storyline today, which is brought to you by our friends at Alenco. Make sure to hit them up if you need anything home improvement wise. So we'll start with just number one. DY, why don't you lead it off here? Your number one team on your Big 12 preseason ballot that, of course, you didn't fill out, I didn't fill out, Cole didn't fill out. None of us officially filled this out, but these are our official predictions here. Everybody did it a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
I went Oklahoma State number one just because I do think they have the best running back in the league. Probably that could be the best player in the league. A returning quarterback that you expect not to, make the bad decisions that can lose you games. They return their entire offensive line. By the way, that offensive line also has about 3 players that could be up for consideration when it comes to the All Big 12 first team. So it's not just an offensive line with experience, it's one with talent. They have talent at the receiver position as well. So this has the potential to be a prolific offense, and I anticipate it being the top 2 defense in the Big 12. They do not have the luxury of having a fortuitous schedule like they did a year ago, but I think they might have more talent and be a better team than they were a year ago. Add that with having probably a top 2 or 3 coach in the Big 12, and I think Oklahoma State is a very logical pick at the top of the Big 12 this year.
Well, I agree with you. That's who I landed on after giving it some thought, and I feel like Utah has been just slightly out in front of K-State as most people's pick there, and feels safe to a lot of people because they've won the Pac-12 2 of the last 3 years. But Oklahoma State, it's like Mike Gundy, man. 8 out of his 17 years, the guy has won 9+ games. He just seems to find a way every single year when you think he's down and out. This is not a year where people think he's down and out, but it feels like they have a ton of momentum. Best running back in the country. The offensive line, they've got almost a 2 deep full of guys who have starting experience. I really like the receiving core that they have. Rashad Owens, Brennan Presley. They've got a transfer from Washington State who was banged up last year that has some nice college football under him. Just feel like there's a lot to like there. Obviously, they have stars on the defense too, led by Nick Martin. So when you're giving me what I would say is arguably the best home field advantage in the league, arguably the best coach in the league, certainly the best running back in the league, and I understand Alan Bowman can leave something to be desired, but I feel like that whole infrastructure is just ready to go. So I'm taking Oklahoma State to win the league.
Yeah, I don't have Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. Kansas State, Utah. Not to jump the gun there on number 2, but Kansas State will be my pick to finish at the top of the Big 12 standings. I'm not nearly as high on Oklahoma State as you guys. Oklahoma State finished 8th in the new look 16-team Big 12 in the SP Plus metrics from Bill Connolly on ESPN.com from last season. They finished 5th in the original Big 12 from last year. If you look at it, it was K-State and the SP Plus is the best team in the Big 12 and the new look Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas removed. KU 2nd, TCU 3rd, Iowa State 4th, West Virginia 5th, Oklahoma State 6th. So actually West Virginia 5 teams were ahead of Oklahoma State in the SP Plus. That's not the end all be all. You got to win games ultimately, and Oklahoma State won 10 games last year. So credit to them for finding ways to win, but I'm not nearly as high on him. It largely goes back to the quarterback position because I don't trust Alan Bowman to be able to even stay on the field. I don't trust him regardless to be enough of a playmaker. You guys will argue he doesn't have to be with Ollie Gordon there, but I think he'll be relied on more to make plays this year as teams really key in on Gordon and the rushing attack of the Cowboys. I like K-State far more, and I think Oklahoma State starts Big 12 play 0-2 with loss at home in Stillwater to Utah, and then they go to Manhattan the following weekend and dropped that game at Kansas State. So I don't have the Cowboys as a Big 12 championship appearance, a team making an appearance in the Big 12 championship.
All right, well, I definitely have some thoughts, but for now, I have thoughts about Alenko. Our great friends, great K-State folks, just like those at Holiday Distillery. We have found a bunch of K-Staters who have supported the show. It's been great. Alenko is locally owned. They've been locally owned since they started in 1986, and that's in an industry where many home improvement companies have been bought out by national corporations. These guys are local. So if you're thinking about getting new windows on your home, doing a bathroom remodel, Alenko specializes in premium window replacements as well as Kohler Luxstone shower systems. If you need new siding on your home, they have you covered there as well. And when we say local, you don't have to just live in the Kansas City area where they are based out of. Alenko also covers much of western Missouri, northeast Kansas, the surrounding KC Metro. If you're in Manhattan, Emporia, Topeka, Wichita, or small towns like Rossville, where Cole's from, Alenko will come your way and take care of your home improvement needs. All you have to do is go to alencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com and check out all the services they offer. ALENCO home.com. Free estimates as well. And just give Sam a call. You can do that as well. Great K-Stater. Talk some cats with him. 913-961-2165. He'll get you taken care of and answer any questions that you have. So go support Alenko, full of K-Staters and those who support our show. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could do this whole bit over again where Cole's referencing Bill Connolly, who we have just called an idiot repeatedly over the last couple of weeks because of his take about Bill Snyder and Lance Leipold, and who had the tougher rebuild job there, who has done the better rebuilding job, however you want to frame that. But really, I think, the Alan Bowman point, like there should theoretically be less pressure and stress on him this year. Oklahoma State hit the transfer portal. It bolstered the running back position a little bit more so that Ollie Gordon won't have to be used quite as much. It'll take some of the pressure off of him. I think that will, ergo, take some pressure off of Bowman. And if we're going to say, is it like teams weren't paying attention to Ollie Gordon the back half of last year? The guy was torching everybody. I think they still saw plenty of attention paid to him, and now they've had an offseason to try and figure some things out. You are correct in that Oklahoma State's season basically is the first 2 weeks of Big 12 play when they've got Utah and at K-State. Like, it gets much easier from there. I do think a game against UCF toward the end of the year could be tricky, but I don't know, man. Oklahoma State, Utah, K-State, we will know by like mid-October whether or not they're legit in terms of Big 12 title aspirations.
My argument would be for the sixth place and SP plus thing is that there's little to no gap, So it's probably a couple plays difference between sixth and third. This league is going to be that tight, so that doesn't bother me as much. Also, the hallmark of a great coach, and I think we would all consider Mike Gundy a great coach, is he's going to uplift you a few spots above where you might be positioned at, because he wins with less. He won the Big 12 and did what he did in the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma over there that no other Big 12 team did. So I think a hallmark of as a good coach is even if your number is maybe say fifth or sixth, he can get you better than that and a potential crack in a Big 12 title game. And then with Alan Bowman, I get it. There's obvious limitations there as well. And the first part of the season is going to, or at least the conference schedule is going to tell us everything, just like Kurtz just alluded to. But let's not forget that Oklahoma State started pretty rough last year, and it wasn't until they named Alan Bowman the permanent starting job when they took off.
Anything, Cole? Any response? Any rebuttal?
No, I could go to Kelly Ford's power ratings too from last year if you guys don't want to use Bill Connolly because you want to,
I just think that I think that's a good measurement, but I also think if your measurement is not a big separation between like the second place team and the sixth place team, then calling them sixth is a little bit, we'll see. It's going to come down to a few plays.
Well, yeah. To be fair, Connolly doesn't have them finishing sixth. That was based off last year, and we talk about how they returned so much. Like, his actual projections this year have Oklahoma State third. Bill Connolly's projections are K-State 1, Utah 2, Oklahoma State 3, Arizona 4. So,
and I have K-State second. So if we're going to go there, and largely, I will just say this, largely the reason I don't have K-State first is out of all the Big 12 title contenders, they probably have the least proven commodities.
But yeah, and that's why, I mean, our orders are just going to be, I feel like, shuffled around a little bit differently here toward the top, or at least Derek and I forget that, yeah, Cole has Oklahoma State down lower. But Derek makes a really good point. Like, Shahan Jayaraja from CBS, I saw him, like an Oklahoma State fan, was just crushing him because he was like, how dare you put us fifth and behind Iowa State? And he made it this big dramatic slight. And Shahan said the exact same thing you did, Derek. Like, I don't think Big 12 fans are ready for like how 2 or 3 plays can be the swing between literally you're finishing 7th or you're finishing 1st or 2nd. And like, so it's like, it's not a disrespect. It's just,
it was last year. It was last year for K-State. Think about the way that K-State lost to Missouri, Texas, and Iowa State. It's a few plays last year.
Well, you think about that. When we had Kelly Ford on the show, he reminded us again of the what-if rankings that he had last year. And if K-State would have flipped all their one-score games, K-State would have been the number 1 team in the country in his rankings. So that's how the one-score games were what decided K-State the difference between 9 and 4. And in 2022, it was the opposite, right? K-State won the close games.
And I'd feel better about that flipping if it was like 2022 and all their best talent and, attractive commodities were proven. Like that year, they were returning those studs, but they were all proven. Cooper Beatty was proven. Julius Prince was proven. Eko Boydo was proven. Felix Ndike was proven. Eli Huggins was proven. The quarterback, Adrian Martinez, you were going in thinking he would get it done. Deuce Vaughn, Malik Knowles. This year, they have just as much talent, maybe even a little more if you want to go quantity-wise, but it's just not as proven.
Yeah, I would probably argue that they do have more talent in general, but you're right, it's not proven, and that's why like Oklahoma State and Utah to me is the Big 12 championship game pick with K-State just outside at 3, and it's because they just have a lot more that is proven. Now, not without questions, because I think we don't talk enough about Cam Rising having been almost 2 full years since he's actually played a game, and he is very old. Nick was joking about Alan Bowman being a senior citizen. I mean, so is Cam Rising. Probably a better quarterback than Alan Bowman, but he is also very, very old here at this point. But Kyle Whittingham and Mike Gundy have just been so rock solid, and it's hard to argue, as annoying as Utah fans have been since coming into the league, it's hard to argue with the sustained success that they have had. So I have to give them the nod there just because Avery Johnson, look, we were talking this weekend about how much we love the defensive ends. I think there's a lot of talent with the young defensive ends. The offensive line, reason to believe that Connor Riley can figure it out. But like all those places that I just named, it's like there are a lot of guys that aren't proven there. You need to step up. Receivers, guys for Avery Johnson to throw to before we even talk about Avery himself. There's some talent there, but guys need to step up and prove that they can, like Keegan Johnson, Jace Brown. Nice into the season last year. Can you now be the number 1 guy? Like, there's just a lot of things that have to be proven by these guys, and I think it's fair to give the nod to Oklahoma State and Utah until we actually see it. But I will give you guys a chance to react in just a moment. Cole, as you can see, is proudly displaying another Home Field Apparel hat today. Don't know if it's going to be just one during the show or all 3, but if you like the hat that Cole's wearing, if you are listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, you can see that. If not, just imagine it. Cole in a great hat with Cocaine Willie on it, white and purple. You can get all sorts of stuff at homefieldapparel.com, 50-plus K-State designs, and 100-plus other teams if you want to be more like Derek. That's a yellow shirt today, DY. Is that a home field? Who do we have? North Dakota State. Okay. DY is wearing North Dakota State today. I don't think people can get very mad about that at all. Nice little pipeline for K-State, whether it be the head coach or whether it be defensive backs headed to the NFL. Either way, North Dakota State, nice little hookup there. Get to homefieldapparel.com, use promo code 3MA24, and you can get 15% off your first order. We're back in just a moment.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
When you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you play on repeat and you just have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is too? Well, that's how we felt when we discovered that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there's no way we could keep it to ourselves. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text, delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your own phone number and bring along all your friends. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/3ma. That's mintmobile.com/3ma. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/3ma. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, Derek, since you had Utah behind K-State, you're going Oklahoma State, K-State, Utah. I'll let you react here first and tell me why you've got the order flip-flop there.
For Utah, I just think I've said it before, I don't like going new teams in a new league when you got a lot to figure out. Now, some of that is lessened just by the fact that everyone's going to be playing a lot of new teams. I think K-State's got 5 or 6 themselves. But still, new team, new league, you're going to new places you've never been. There's still a level of discomfort and a lot of planning, right, in preparation. Perhaps some of that started in the offseason, just as Kansas State did. But there's going to be little to no familiarity for you. And then you add in the Cam Rising element. That was just enough for me to leave them out of the Big 12 title.
Yeah, I'll get into Utah here in a minute, but I did want to circle back really quick to K-State because I wanted to call this out. And again, this is from Bill Connolly from ESPN. But another reason for Kansas State, and I think K-State fans will find this very interesting that read the article on ESPN.com, is over the last 3 seasons, K-State has won 27 games and averaged an SP plus ranking of 14.8, which ranks 14th nationally and second behind only Notre Dame among programs outside of the Big Ten and the SEC. Connolly notes that means K-State's ahead of Clemson and Florida State in that span as well. So Chris Kleiman has been tremendous. He went 12-11 in his first 2 seasons, but has since established this program to be a consistent team in the Big 12. And that's why Connolly has K-State as the Big 12 title favorites. It's a narrow gap between them and Utah. I have Utah number 2. I think they'll transition okay to the Big 12. Look, this is the Utes are 2-time Pac-12 title defenders until last year when they suffered a ton of injuries on the offensive side of the football, which is really where the problem lied. They were 11th in the SP Plus offensively the year prior in 2022, and they fell to 65th last year as they lost Cam Rising. They didn't have Cam Rising all season after he got hurt the prior year in the Rose Bowl. Didn't have Rising at quarterback, who's in his 7th year. Lost Micah Bernard, their running back, early on in the season. Lost Micah Pittman, Brant Keithy, one of the best tight ends in the Pac-12 and all Pac-12 tight end. He'll be back this year. They got a lot of guys that have been injured in their careers throughout the past, missed multiple seasons, that they're getting back. And I like some of the transfer hauls they brought in on the offensive side of the football. And you can always trust with Scally on the defensive side of the football, their D coordinator, that Utah is going to be rock solid on that side of the ball. So I think Utah is going to be the second best team in the league this year, and they'll be in Arlington joining K-State in the Big 12 championship.
By the way, it hasn't been mentioned, but I think actually the best argument for Kansas State is their schedule. They get both Oklahoma State and Kansas at home, and they play the 4 worst teams in the league.
That'll help. And you can break down the schedule like a million different ways, I feel like, and find things that you like, things that you don't like. I mean, the Kansas schedule, pretty favorable, but they're also not playing any actual legit games at home. So that is a factor there too. The unbalanced schedules, I think by the end of the year, that's a part of what will make this so crazy, right? To the point of a play or 2 here or there could be the difference. Think about all the tiebreaker scenarios that are going to have to come into play. And on top of that, like how wildly different the schedules could look by the end of the year in terms of who had to play who. So that's like a lot of this is kind of a fool's errand in that respect, because schedules that you think are hard now won't look as hard by the end of the year because teams will inevitably jump up and be a little bit different. And I want to get it out there. I mean, I have K-State finishing 3rd here. I would have them going probably 9-3. which is just barely. I mean, it's right on the over-under number in Vegas, 9.5. And you mentioned Cole, K-State's won 27 games the last 3 years. That's literally the average. So this is not, it's not being me being a hater, okay? It's just me giving deference to Oklahoma State and Utah here. So who do you have finishing fourth, Cole? Let's go there. Who do you have finishing fourth?
Well, I haven't picked my third team yet.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Who is third?
I'll go with Oklahoma State.
You just moved them up 2 spots in the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I started going through a lot of the different numbers, and while I contemplated Iowa State, KU, West Virginia for the third spot, I'll ultimately go with Oklahoma State, because after they go 0-2 to start Big 12 play, their schedule softens up significantly, and I could see them finishing out probably around 6-3 in the league standings overall. I think they might drop one more after that. I mean, you spoke of schedules. Oklahoma State was a huge beneficiary of the schedule last year. I mean, it's a team that got to play Cincinnati at home, played BYU at home. By the way, they beat BYU by 6 in 2 overtimes. BYU was not a good football team last year and obviously got smoked by South Alabama, got smoked by UCF. They got smoked by Texas. That's why I don't think they're all that legit for the Big 12 championship. But because they have so much experience back, returning production is so high, it's top 5 in all of college football, and I think returning production is a big deal. I'll take reluctantly Oklahoma State third.
Who do you have fourth, Derek?
You know, I'm not going all chalk just because every year there's a team that no one's really anticipating competing for the Big 12 title or being in the top 5 or 6 that they didn't think would be here. So I tried to think of it that way. It's like, what team that no one's talked about could get there? I went Texas Tech because they kind of fit some other teams in the past that have kind of snuck up and have good years, because everyone was on them last year and it didn't work out that way. Kind of a tricky schedule, especially at the beginning. A lot of times when it's just people getting on a team too early, and that next year is really when they pop. So wouldn't be surprised for me to see Texas Tech be that team, even though they've continued to have quarterback issues. But think about it, last year, they had about probably as worse luck as anyone in the Big 12. And I think we would all agree to that. And they still found a way to win 7 games. I think that's pretty impressive given what they went through. You look at their Big 12 schedule. 3 of the first 4 are at home. I like that. And 2 of those are against Arizona State and Cincinnati. So they could legitimately, if they could steal one on the road at Arizona, potentially start 4-0 in the Big 12. And I think that can breed some confidence. You guys talk about the schedule a lot, right? They don't have to play K-State, KU, or Utah. They miss all 3. And they've been collecting the most talent in the league, if we're going to be honest, from a recruiting standpoint. And at some point, I think that catches up.
It's a decent argument. And I took some flack from a Texas Tech fan the other day because I had them not in the group of 7 or 8 schools that I thought had a legitimate chance to win the Big 12. I mean, you could, TCU and Texas Tech, like, you could still convince me basically because of the talent they have, particularly at the skill positions, that I probably should amend that and include them in that group. To me, it's about quarterback. And that's why I've got Texas Tech, I've got Texas Tech ninth here. Now, very easily could have them as high as 6th if I were to really think about it, which underscores the point here in the Big 12. Baron Morton is really the main thing for me with Tech. It's that Joey McGuire has not proven he can take that next step yet, and Baron Morton I don't think is a good enough quarterback to do it. Maybe I will be proven wrong. I understand that he's dealt with injuries. I'm not a big Baron Morton believer.
We would have said the same thing about Alan Bowman last year, kind of still saying the same thing about him this year, but they were boosted by a good schedule.
Yeah, I just can't. The injury history at Texas Tech, it's unfortunate for them. They've had bad luck at the quarterback position. It goes beyond Baron Morton, as you guys know. So I can't trust it yet. I got to see it. But I mean, if Baron Morton stays healthy, they got Taj Brooks at running back. They got talent at wide receiver. They're improved on the defensive side of the football under Joey McGuire. I could certainly see them taking a step.
Not playing K-State, KU, or Utah is probably the most fortunate schedule in the entire Big 12.
Yeah, I'd have to look at their schedule again, DY, because their schedule strength still ranks higher. Well, it's not as tough a schedule. It's an easier schedule or a tougher schedule than K-State and Utah in the Big 12. K-State's schedule ranks 71st and Utah's 81st, Texas Tech 66th.
They have some tough road trips. I think their road schedule's still tricky. They've got to go to Arizona, TCU, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State in the league. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, well, if you think TCU is good, I guess, but I don't.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to go with Arizona at 4. I had trouble with this one because I was actually going to put somebody else at 4, but as I looked at Arizona's schedule, to DY's scheduling point, K-State, because it's a non-con matchup, then you look at it, they go to Utah the following week, which they'll be underdogs in, and I think they'll probably drop that game and go 0-1 to start Big 12 play. But after that, they host Texas Tech, they go to BYU, they host Colorado, they host West Virginia, they go to UCF, that'll be a tough one. They get Houston at home, at TCU, and I'm not that high on TCU, and get Arizona State at home. So I think they got some games that'll be relatively gimmies in the Big 12 on their schedule. Love McMillan at wide receiver, Fafita at quarterback. I think they'll have maybe a little bit of a slow start to the season under the new coach, but I like them as Big 12 play. They get into the middle of Big 12 play to really start to gel. I think they've got enough talent that they'll step into the Big 12 play transition relatively well. I don't see them finishing worse than 6-3. In the Big 12, I'll have them 4th in my final standings.
No love for the Hawks, huh? I'm going Kansas 4. I would have Arizona 5, and really the only difference for me in that is just Brent Brennan. I don't really know what to make of him as a head coach. But Arizona, if you're talking about like really high-end talent, Arizona's got a lot of it. I mean, they've got a first-team all-league corner to go along with maybe the best quarterback and receiver combo in the league, with Tetero McMillan at receiver, who's just an absolute dude, and Noah Fafita, who had a phenomenal year last year. So there's no Jed Fish. There is a lot of transition. Just because of that, and you're moving to a new conference, I would give Kansas the nod there. And I still feel like, Kansas has a pretty darn favorable Big 12 schedule as well. The obvious question mark there is going to be, it does feel like they will probably go as far as Jalen Daniels is able to take them, and will he be on the field enough to do it? Will he be playing the 6 games a year that he's averaged throughout his college career, or is it going to actually be more than that this year? So that's a really hard thing to try to bake into where you're picking them in a preseason poll, but I still have enough respect for the rest of the team and what they have that I would pick them forward.
I have Kansas 5th. For me, it's new offensive coordinator. 2. I think you're downgrading from Andy Kotelnicki, probably regardless of who you replace him with. So I have Kansas 5th. If Jalen Daniels stays healthy for a full year, they'll probably finish higher than that. But I'll go 5th for KU.
Boy, that opening Big 12 game, September 21st at West Virginia that KU has, is going to have one that I have circled that I'm really intrigued to watch, because I have West Virginia 5th and the Big 12 standings, which DY will hate, because I think DY even said they won't make a bowl. And his prediction, West Virginia won 9 games last year. They took a big step with Neil Brown. I know it can be argued that it was ease of schedule and some breaks there, but I like Garrett Green at quarterback. I like some of the playmakers they have on the offensive side of the football and at running back, Donaldson back. So I think I'll take West Virginia 5th, but it's a very close 5th because I have KU at 6, right on their heels. And that game in Morgantown obviously could swing it. I, like DY, would probably have KU higher if I could trust Jalen Daniels to stay healthy, because I love KU's skill position talent. Man, they're loaded at wide receiver with all those guys back, with Skinner and Arnold and Graham, and then obviously Devin Neal and Highshaw at running back. I love their skill guys. If Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, it's a big if, then I'd probably have him higher than 6.
So nobody has Iowa State in the top 5. Am I right on that?
Well, you can't. I mean, that would have Matt Campbell sniffing anywhere around 10 wins, so I just can't have him in the top 5.
They have a lot of returning production. I'll give them that. I don't think they have the same high-end talent as other people.
Yeah, they actually have the most returning production in college football, DY. Number 1 in the country, according to Bill Connolly. And actually, I heard a rumor that they've already hung a banner out there, number 1 returning production in all of college football.
I think that returning production will make Iowa State be absolutely lethal on defense. So I think they're going to look like Iowa, where it's just going to be gross games, very defensive minded.
Boy, some disrespect for Rocco Becht.
I like Rocco Becht, but he can't do shit. Nobody around him is that good, and I question how good they are around him.
Number 2.
State fans are like, oh my God, do you remember what Abu Sama did? He was a third-string running back last year for a reason. He only did that in Manhattan. That was more on K-State than it was on Abu Sama.
Well, see, I mean, here is a really interesting take on this. Now, I've got Iowa State 6th. I think they'll be solid, just kind of what it always is. I think there is a limited ceiling. I think you guys are right. I was just listening to Josh Pate on my way back from the gym this morning, and he picked them to play Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. I really feel like that K-State game not only did K-State just lay down and lose to Iowa State in that game, I feel like K-State bolstered the entire Iowa State hype machine for this offseason by the way that game went. Not just losing that game, but the fact that it was a snow game and you lost it by letting Iowa State rip off these massive, ridiculous plays. K-State's defense laying down in that game has overhyped Iowa State, I believe here. I think so maybe that's just like a long con, setting them up for a little bit of disappointment there. But I feel like that really changed the narrative and conversation about Iowa State. It would have been, if K-State wins that game and it's a 7-6 year, hey, nice turnaround for Matt Campbell, but I don't think many people are predicting them to be legitimately in the conversation for a Big 12 title. But instead, now here they are because they remember that game and Sama and Knoll and everybody running all over the place.
Why does no one remember him losing to Memphis in the Liberty Bowl and getting manhandled? I mean, I know it was on Memphis's home field technically, though that's not a daunting atmosphere.
Oh, you don't just walk into the Liberty Bowl and walk out with a win.
Yeah, we lost to Navy. I will say this. You're right, Cole, but I'll say this. Because no one remembers or even touches on bowl games anymore.
I know. And normally I would take bowl games with a grain of salt, but Iowa State's not a program that has a lot of opt-outs, right?
No,
they're all in. And they got manhandled, as you guys remember. They were down by 3 scores most of that game.
It's a good data point. I don't have Iowa State in my top 6. Like I said, I think you guys gave your 6th place team. Mine's Arizona. I have Arizona lower than you guys just because I don't know what they are under Brent Brennan. New coach, new Big 12, new coach, new league. Can't take them high. So are we on number 7 now?
Yeah.
My 7's UCF. I think they probably have more upside than that too, but they were around the 7 spot last year. I still think they're probably not good on defense to probably move higher than that.
UCF is a sneaky team that I forgot about. We were talking about this some on the lake this weekend, and I completely forgot about UCF at one point as we were outlining this. I'll go Iowa State 7 because of the returning production on the offense and defensive side of the football. That game at KU is going to be a fascinating one to watch because, as we were talking this weekend, it being an Arrowhead is such an interesting dynamic with how many Clone fans will they be able to travel down to the Sandals Resort in Kansas City once again and take over the city? Will they have a 50-50 split in Arrowhead Stadium? That's a factor for KU as well this year, guys. Not to circle back to that too much, but they've been really good at home over the last couple of years. They've created a pretty nice atmosphere at home. And what will it be like in a stadium that seats 75,000 capacity plus with maybe 40, 45,000 people in the seats and 30,000 empty seats? It changes the way the feel is in that stadium. And, it also gives Iowa State a chance, their fans, to travel down and more neutralize that game. But I'll take Iowa State 7th. They got to go to Utah, but they get K-State at home. That'll be a really interesting stretch. And that's a sneaky thing I like for K-State, guys. And we'll talk about that more as we break down K-State's schedule in our August preview shows. But the fact that Iowa State has to go to Utah the week before playing K-State at home, I really like. You got to play a physical matchup on the road in Salt Lake City, and then the following week, they'll play Kansas State and Ames.
Yeah, and just before, I would have went UCF higher because I know John really likes them too, but my thing is Gus Malzahn is also one of those guys that tries to outthink himself at times and loses him a game or two every year, and like I said, I think they give up too many points to go higher than 7.
Well, I've got them at 7, but it's basically because I just don't have the guts to do what DY did with Texas Tech and throw them way higher, because I think UCF is that team. If there's going to be a surprise team that really threatens to make it or does make it, they're the team that I really like, because I think the world of Gus, I mean, you may well be right there, but he's also a guy that's coached in a national championship game and made it 7 years at Auburn, coaching in the shadow of Nick Saban in his prime and the SEC West. Like, the next 3 coaches at Auburn have not made it 7 combined years. So, like, Gus Malzahn, that's an accomplishment to do what he did there, where it's just been a crazy, crazy environment to try and coach. And I think they had to kind of go through, I heard Kalani Sitake talking to Big 12 Media Days, like, hey, it was kind of like being a parent. We had to go through like the first year of playing in the Big 12 to just like get our feet under us, learn what it was like. I think there's probably some of that from UCF. Now they have that. And the most important thing, obviously, is that they've got the Big 12 newcomer of the year at quarterback in KJ Jefferson. So if they get quarterback health, which they did not last year, another thing why they struggled a bit, man, KJ Jefferson, RJ Harvey, and Gus Malzahn, that's a hell of a trio in terms of what they could do on offense. And UCF is another one of those schools, like, they recruit toward the top of the new Big 12 now. So they have stockpiled some talent too. I'm really probably just, it's me falling into the offseason trap of feeling like you need to go chalk more and not. Otherwise, I might have UCF up more like 4. But I'm going to go with them at 7.
Yeah. So did they return both? Did they lose one of the 2 big receivers last year? They have Baker back.
I think they lost one of the 2. Was it Javon Baker that went pro? They lost one of their 2.
They still have Kobe Hudson, I think.
Kobe Hudson, and I think he was the better receiver for the UCF. Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of skill talent, and I remember previewing UCF last year and talking about, like, Gus Malzahn for the last year or 2 has been bringing in arguably some of the best talent in the Big 12 in preparation for this.
He did say in Vegas he doesn't think they have the depth yet to be in the top 3 of the Big 12.
Yeah, that's the question mark. But at the top of the depth chart, they have some serious talent and speed. We'll see here as they went through the growing pains in year 1. I'm fascinated that they play an October 5th game, middle of the year, at Florida. I didn't even realize that. So that'll be an interesting game. But I know obviously it doesn't affect the Big 12.
Last team in the top half. Who do you guys got? I got Baylor. I'm still. I didn't go chalk, so I got Baylor number 8 because I think they might be the biggest wild card of anyone in the league just because of DeQuan Finn has a chance to be a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I've got UCF 8 on my end, so I've got the Knights 8th in the Big 12, and I could see them finish a little higher.
I'm going West Virginia. I'm probably in between on West Virginia. Cole seems a little bit higher. Derek obviously is much lower. Just kind of in between. I feel like they're like a 7-5-ish kind of team. Respect for Neil Brown and what he did last year, but their schedule, that is one of those that's like, when we go back to the same talking point, like, not much is going to separate all these teams and unbalanced schedules and all of that. Take out the non-con, which they've got Penn State at home and they have a road trip to Pitt. But then after that, they play. Listen to how their Big 12 schedule starts. They have Kansas at home. They go to Oklahoma State, and they have Iowa State and K-State at home back to back, and then they go to Arizona.
They could start 0-5 in the Big 12, but it wouldn't be like, because they'll be probably underdogs.
I would think that right now they would be underdogs in,
except maybe Iowa State.
Maybe Iowa State at home. They'd be the favorite, but everything else. And then they do also later in the year, they host UCF. They go to Texas Tech to end the year. Those are tricky enough. So West Virginia is not getting the kiss that they got schedule-wise last year. That's really all this is for me.
Yeah, I totally understand Baylor with Finn at quarterback. I just can't get there with him with how bad last season was for the Bears, and really the last 2 years has gone. But this is a team. I
went to find 2 surprises because there's always a couple.
Yeah, and they very well could be. You could argue TCU could be a surprise team. I know you're not high on them, DY, but it's like I think about a team looking to bounce back after being in the playoff and the national championship game and then falling off the radar, not even making a bowl. Maybe they're a bounce back type team. But you look at no, actually, I'm going to take Colorado 9th. I'll take the Buffs to finish 9th with the offensive firepower that they have. We'll see. I think they may make a bowl this year, but again, just to remind everybody, I still have Kansas State marching into Boulder and steamrolling the Buffs. So I just want everyone to know that. But as I look back on Baylor too, it's like they beat Cincinnati by 3, and it took that miracle 35-7 come from behind win to win by 1 at UCF to not have lost their final 8-9 games. They would have went 1-11 if it wasn't for that. And then the 3-point victory over Cincinnati, who was the other worst team in the Big 12. So I can't get there with Baylor yet, but we'll see if Finn can change that around and the offensive scheme changes for Dave Miranda. But I'll take Colorado 9.
My 9 is Iowa State. I think that's where they get.
I've got TCU. I've got Texas Tech 9, TCU 10, Colorado 11. Those three, I wouldn't really argue with you if you want to interchange them. I feel like they're all probably bowl teams, and that's kind of the cutoff for me where we're talking about bowl teams still from the league. Colorado, maybe Colorado could surprise a bit. I need to see it more with the offensive line, basically in the trenches. I mean, all the question marks that everybody typically has about Colorado, and there's just been so much turnover, not just with the team, but with the staff. So I too many moving parts there. It doesn't feel safe to predict them to be too terribly much higher than that. Rounding it out, I mean, I've got Baylor 12, BYU 13, Houston 14, Cincy 15, Arizona State 16. Anybody have any major issues with that?
I think we're all probably going to agree on 15 and 16, at least I assume. I'll round out my rest. I had 9 Iowa State, of course. I had 10 Colorado. Again, you spelled it out. Offensive line issues, defense issues. Not a forgiving schedule really either, and it starts right away in the non-con. I have West Virginia 11, so quite a bit lower than you guys. I have Houston 12 because Willie Fritz is always going to elevate a team a spot or two higher than what they should be, and I give him credit for that. So I have Houston 12. I have BYU 13, TCU 14. I am out on the Horned Frogs and Sonny Dykes, and then obviously 15 Cincinnati and 16 Arizona State.
Yeah, I'm going to make a quick change here, guys, on my number 9 as I gave this some more thought and I overlooked this. I'm going to have Texas Tech 9. Instead of Colorado, I'm going to have TCU 10. I'm going to move Colorado to 11th. So that covers things off there. And then look, I mean, it's kind of just I feel like you could throw all these teams in a hat on the rest of these when you look at BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, Arizona State, Baylor. I'll take Baylor 12 just because they've been there in the Big 12 for a while. Dave Miranda has won a Big 12 championship in a New Year's Six Bowl, so I won't put them in that pile with Cincinnati and Houston, Arizona State. I'll take Houston 13, BYU 14, Cincinnati 15, Arizona State 16.
No, you look at their schedule; it's very possible Arizona State wins only 1 or 2 games this year.
Man, no love for Kenny Dillingham, huh? No love at all.
I don't even know who he has a quarterback this year. Does he still have? No, because their starter went to Georgia to be the backup.
They lost Rashada, but there was talk that Rashada wasn't even going to start. They've got a kid that was at Michigan State. Is that where he was?
Yeah, I don't like it. And they're in their non-con's not even forgiving. They got to go to Texas State.
Wait, we're saying that their non-con's not forgiving because they've got to go to Texas State?
That's their Group of 5 team, and that might be the best Group of 5 team in the country.
Texas State?
Yeah.
I mean, they won their bowl last year, and did they retain their coach then, I assume?
Yeah, they did. He didn't go anywhere. They didn't. It's Kinney, right? GJ Kinney?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize. I remembered Texas State a couple of years ago when it was still Spavital, right? They did they had more transfers than almost anybody. They tried like some real Dion stuff there. That's the last thing I remembered hearing about Texas State.
That was Kinney.
That was Kinney?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spavital didn't win there. Kinney's the one that's been winning. They were pretty good last year.
Did you know that according to Bill Connolly, last year was Arizona State's worst team since 1947?
Yeah.
SP plus.
And they said they could be worse this year.
Yeah, they landed 31 transfers in 2023, and they went for another 29 in 2024. That includes former quarterback Jeff Sims from Nebraska. Ooh, they better hope he's not the guy. Sam Levitt from Michigan State.
Sam Levitt is what it sounds like he's going to be the starter there.
Yeah, Jim's boy. So,
and Texas State's at home. But yeah, there's a couple of metrics out there that Texas State is the highest Group of 5 ranked team. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add on the Big 12 before we depart here? Cole, I feel like you changed your list like 3 times while we were doing that. So I just want everybody to know that's how confident you should feel in Cole picking K-State to win. He was so confident in his list that he he tweaked it 3 times while we were going through it in the last 45 minutes.
I've remained adamant, though, in the top 2, and that will not change. So that's what really matters. Kansas State 1, Utah 2, Oklahoma State 8th. No, they're 3 for the hell of it. But again, reluctantly, 3.
That does remind me, we were like having this, we had this argument on patreon.com/3maw if you want to hear our bonus episodes. We had an episode we were all arguing about Oklahoma State going into the weekend. And then my most satisfying win in NCAA was when I beat Cole with Oklahoma State, which might have been the most entertaining game that we played of the entire weekend, because I had an 18-yard field goal to win the game that got blocked. And then in overtime, I hit like a 48-yard field goal, which if you played the game yet, it's pretty tricky to hit longer field goals. I somehow made like a 48-yard field goal after getting sacked in overtime to actually win the game.
John also muffed a punt in that game on a terrible punt by me. Shout out to Nate Katzer in the special teams unit for coming up with big plays. Justice James with the blocked field goal there off the edge on an 18-yarder, which I don't recall ever blocking a field goal on the prior editions of NCAA football. It was shocking. So.
Yeah, I know it was. And like I could have scored the touchdown, but I did the, lie down at the 1-yard line thing just to kick the 18-yard field goal. And then that's what screwed me. It was wild.
DY literally fell to the floor laughing in hysterical fashion. And our friend Casey was dying laughing too. It was a very entertaining game, but man, Ollie Gordon is almost impossible to tackle in that game.
Yeah, dude, Ollie Gordon's ridiculous. Like some of those Big 12 running backs, man, are just ridiculous in the game. Okay, big thanks to all of our sponsors, Elenco for your home improvement needs, Home Field Apparel for obviously your K-State gear needs, or anybody else if you want to be NDSU like DY. Holiday Distillery for your bourbon and vodka needs. Thanks to Nick Springer, our producer, doing a great job as always. For Derek Young and Cole Manbeck, I am John Kurtz. Thanks for listening to another edition of 3 Maw.